Hey guys, you're watching me as new pair of glasses, and today's topic is going to be a little bit controversial, but we're going to talk about the truth about smoking and tobacco and whether the claims that smoking is as bad for our health as we've been told are accurate and true or not. And the reason I wanted to cover this is because the longer that I delve into the deceptions, the more I question everything I've been taught my entire life by the establishment. And the reason that this threw up red flags for me is because there's been such a concerted and expensive effort since about 1964 by the establishment to convince us that smoking is the cause for illnesses that plague us today, like lung cancer and heart disease. And so there's a few things that I want to establish just to set the stage for this discussion. And number one is that it takes money to fund research. So where does that money come from? It comes from corporations, aka the government. So all science that is widely accepted is funded by and filtered through these organizations of the government. So it can make it very, very difficult to get any kind of truth on any matter where scientific evidence is required, which is why they have done everything possible to get a monopoly on scientific research, studies, and organizations. So the big ones, the main offenders, the gatekeepers of the information that I'm speaking of are the American Medical Association, the CDC, and the FDA. These are all organizations that have released fraudulent information over the years to deceive the public. They aren't the altruistic organizations it would like to have us believe. They are not out for the public good. They are not out for our protection. And they have proven that time and time again by allowing harmful chemicals into the things that we consume or put onto our bodies under the deception that these things are safe. So some of the topics that I've covered to show this are how sunscreen actually causes cancer, the chemicals that are allowed into canned goods such as BPA, which is an estrogen-like hormone, prepackaged meats, baby powder causing cancer, and items like Heinz ketchup containing mercury, which is a powerful neurotoxin. We also have water being fluorinated over the years, which has been shown to create a more docile, agreeable public. So these organizations are clearly deceptive. While they allow certain toxins through, claiming them to be safe, they can blame other things for the health problems that these toxins actually do cause. So why would smoking be any different? Why, with all the money and all the effort that has gone into brainwashing the public over the years into believing that smoking is as bad for us as they say, would we believe them on this? We also know that they love things that are unhealthy for us because they need us to financially support the medical industry and big pharma. They benefit by causing health issues because that's the more money that we spend on doctor visits, hospital visits, and on medications. So they definitely financially benefit from encouraging people to continue smoking. So what do we do when we don't know who and what to trust? Well, like I say in every video, we follow the money. Now this one can be a little tricky because on the surface it can appear that they do benefit financially from allowing smoking. So with the overtaxation of cigarettes over the years and the amount of money that cigarette taxes generate, you would think that there must be some other reason for them to ban smoking. Say, for example, that it actually does cause health effects. But when you go back to the first things we talked about, which is that they are not altruistic and they are not out to protect us, then you know that that cancels that theory. So now let's talk about brainwashing and the mind control. The idea of mind control, though prevalent, is quite misunderstood in our society actually. Generally, it is not the high-tech things that people usually associate as mind control. The techniques are quite old and they are thoroughly perfected and have been used throughout the centuries. The kind of brainwashing we're talking about here is done through the media. In present time, it's prevalent in music, videos, movies, television, the internet, and to a lesser extent, radio and print media. As you are aware, in the last several years, there has been a politically correct movement against tobacco smoking. This political correctness, however, has been carried into the realm of the subconscious through constant suggestive repetition, which includes a closely scrutinized adherence to data, much of which is flawed, if not a complete falsehood. One of the things I have noticed as a smoker, when I take my walk, making my way down the path, enjoying a smoke, some of the people I encounter as they approach will unconsciously begin coughing at the moment they recognize I have a cigarette, even at an extreme distance. Most will also demonstrate aloofness in a face of disapproval, and in some cases I have had them cross the street in panicked avoidance rather than just pass me on the sidewalk. This is a conditioned Pavlovian response produced by fear that tobacco smoke will harm them. Yet there is no definitive or absolute proof that passive cigarette smoke will harm them any more than smoke from a charcoal fire grill will. They have successfully demonized tobacco smoking to the degree that to many young people it is seen to be more dangerous than smoking marijuana, crack, or snorting cocaine. There is nothing more high-tech than an understanding of human nature, and the use of the media was used to produce these results. Native Americans regard tobacco as a sacred plant. Tobacco is one of several plants with a name that comes from a Native American language. Tobacco comes from tabaca, a Taino Arawak name for the plant that was picked up by the Spanish in the 1500s. Tobacco is one of the most important Native American ceremonial plants used by nearly every indigenous tribe of North America. Even cultures that did no other farming usually raised tobacco, and tribes that couldn't grow tobacco on their own often traded with other groups to acquire it. Tobacco was considered a gift from the Creator in many Native American cultures. According to some of them, tobacco smoke is a means of carrying the smoker's prayers to God. Many tribes have important myths about the origin of the first tobacco. In some North American tribes, tobacco was exclusively farmed by men, and women were forbidden from touching the growing plants. Once it had been harvested, however, Native American men and women both smoked. Tobacco leaves were smoked at rituals, ceremonies, and important social events, and also as a medicine for any number of ailments. Tobacco is associated with relaxation, healing, and peace. In some tribes, particularly in North America, the pipes used for smoking tobacco are themselves considered highly sacred. In others, tobacco pipes are purely utilitarian or decorative objects. Tobacco is one of the herbs frequently included in medicine bundles and is still popularly used as an offering or gift today. Did you know? Smoking coats the lungs with tar, which can actually protect the lungs from damage caused by black mold and other airborne chemicals and toxins. And the secondhand smoke deception. Why don't actual first-hand smokers get cancer when people who have never smoked or been around it get, quote, secondhand smoke cancer? And when delving into this topic, I couldn't help but remember a really important interview that Dr. Masaru Emoto, who did the water experiments and found out much that we didn't know about water, when he was talking about the power of words and thoughts and how that affects water. And considering water is in every living thing, that would affect us. And he talked about that the warning label that was put on cigarette packages were actually more dangerous to human health than the cigarettes themselves. Remember how we talked about the power in language and where language comes from. So I couldn't help but wonder if it was actually the warning labels that were doing more harm than the actual smoking. Then I thought back to the movie The Insider, which came out around the time that the attack on smoking cigarettes was at its peak. And I thought about that they made a movie exposing the tobacco industry. And I thought, really, why would they put that out there? You don't see any videos and movies talking about the corruption behind BlackRock and Blackstone financial groups and all the destruction they cause. So there was a reason why they put this out there, because if they don't want it out there, it's not going to get out there. But this movie was very strategically placed when the fight against smoking needed some backup. And now I want to take you back to the last generations of smokers, when more people smoked than ever. And I want you to think about what type of people were prominent in those time frames. Those time frames were probably filled with the most defiant populations that we've had. And now, with less smoking than ever, we have the most docile and complacent asleep population than ever before. So everything I've presented to you in this video is leading me to my belief system, which is, does cigarette smoking and tobacco smoking disrupt mind control? The Japanese have the highest number of smokers on the planet, yet the lowest incidence of lung cancer. So we can draw the conclusion that it's not causing cancer like they say. Nicotine blocks mind control, says Kathy O'Brien, the former MK Ultra mind control victim. O'Brien says there's a war on marijuana because users are difficult or not capable of being mind controlled. So is that the reason that they are trying to rid the country of tobacco smokers? But some of you are going to ask, Mia, you said follow the money. So how does this prove that they benefit financially, considering all the money they're able to make off of smoking and the health effects? Well, it is about the money. Like I said, a more accepting, docile, and moldable population they have, the more they can profit off them, the more susceptible they are to the subconscious brainwashing, and the more things people will buy and the more money people will spend. The more awake and the more defiant, the more resistant they will be to falling for the financial traps of the system. And let's talk about the movie The Matrix, which is a conspiracy theorist cult classic. I thought an interesting point that this movie made, as all movies have clues as to the truth, is they made a point to make the Oracle a smoker. She smoked in every scene that she was in. So was the fact that they placed smoking in the Matrix a clue that tells us that tobacco smokers are the ones that are going to be most free in the mind? And are they going to be the most connected to the earth? If we combine what we know about the Native Americans and what they believe about tobacco and how connected they are to nature and the earth, is that something that the establishment is trying to prevent? One thing I know for sure is I don't believe what they tell us about smoking. And I think that regardless of whether you smoke or not, it should not be condemned and brought to people as a moral issue. It's not a moral issue, it's a choice. Whether you smoke or not, it's up to you. But the insanity of the fear that has been created around smoking is absolutely ridiculous. And I encourage you to really think about this topic and make up your own mind about what you believe. But everything in this world is inverted. So that's all I have for you guys today. Everybody stay safe, be good to one another, and as always, God bless.